I didn't have health insurance, no paid time off, no sick leave. Hello everyone, it's me, Babs, your favorite sonographer. Now that I've told you what it took me to get into sonography school and how much you could make as a sonographer, it's time for me to tell you the realities of becoming a sonographer. It ain't that easy. We're going to talk about what they don't tell you when you become a sonographer. So as I mentioned in my previous video about how much you can make as a sonographer, I went to Sanford Brown. That school no longer exists. Why? I don't really know. Maybe some shady business. Maybe they made promises to students about getting hired right away and they weren't. Maybe they were sued because of that. I don't know. All I know is I think some people who graduated from Sanford Brown and did not get hired right away got compensated. But since I don't know too much about the legal aspects of what happened or why they shut down, let's just move on with the video. While I was attending Sanford Brown, they became accredited. And what that means is, what does that mean? While I attended Sanford Brown, they became accredited. And thank God that they did, because if they hadn't, I wouldn't have been able to sit for the PSI exam. But when I first attended, they made it seem so easy to become a sonographer or to get hired as a sonographer. They even had former students come in and lecture and tell us about their experience, where they're working now, etc., etc. Everybody was like, if you study hard, you get hired as a sonographer in your field. That was not the case. At least not for me. I worked hard, mind you, and I passed my exams, but it took me 8 to 10 months to get hired. I think more like 10 months. Nobody wanted somebody without experience. Let me just take a... That's good stuff. I have a friend who graduated around the same time that I did, but from an unaccredited school, unfortunately for her. And because of that, it took her years and years to finally get hired now as a diagnostic medical sonographer in OBGYN. Before that, all she could do was 3D, 4D jobs, meaning it's a sonographer who does only 3D and 4D images. 3D is a still image in 3D, and 4D is the same as 3D, but it's live, so it's a live image. And that's basically kind of like the equivalent of a photographer at like JCPenney. Now, I'm not throwing shade at anybody who does that. I'm just saying you have a medical diagnostic sonographer versus basically a photographer. That is solely for entertainment purposes, and the diagnostic sonographer does an actual medical exam. The 3D, 4D sonographer is not trained to do a diagnostic medical ultrasound. And hospitals and clinics don't count doing 3D ultrasound as being medically trained. So it was very difficult for her to get hired, but not only to get hired, but to sit for the exam to be an accredited sonographer. You see what I'm saying here? Even though she had experience scanning, she was not experienced scanning in the medical field, and she didn't graduate from an accredited school, so she was not able to sit for the exam. And because of that, she also couldn't get hired in a hospital. So it's like a whole big cycle. So first off, go to an accredited school. That's number one. I know another friend who graduated and never got hired, so she quit searching and started doing something else. Getting a job was not easy. Once I got hired in a private clinic, that was my second job. I'll tell you about my first job in a minute. I was overworked to no end. Where I work now, I scan about 10 to 11, maybe 12 patients per day, and that's a combination of OB and GYN patients. But when I was working there, I was scanning up to 20 people a day. And to my boss, that was slow. He wanted us to scan 25 to 30 people. Can you imagine? Where I work now, 30 people, 30 patients, or like 32 patients, that's about the max. That's a full day schedule. They would have 90 patients for 3 or 4 techs to work on. The place was triple booked and patients would wait for hours. The waiting room would be covered inch by patients. I worked 10 hours, sometimes 12 hours. Now, for some of you people who maybe are in nursing, that doesn't seem like much, but nurses also have like 3 or 4 days straight off, I think. I mean, I don't know. Go ahead, educate me, tell me how it really is for nurses, but I know that nurses get compensated well. They work hard, but they also get time off. We, the technicians in this private clinic, were not compensated for our work. Not well, anyway. And a little thing about this place, when I was searching for a new job, they had me go there and work for free. Yeah, it was a interview, it was a training, but no. They would have had me there for weeks just working, training, not getting paid. And I was living in Manhattan. This place was deep in Brooklyn, taking me over an hour to get there just to work for a few hours and not get paid. I was there for, let's say, a week before I told them I'm not coming back until I get an offer to get hired. And that same day, they called me and they hired me. So guys, know your worth. First of all, one day, that's it. That's all they need for you to go and scan and see what you could do. And that should be the interview. If they don't offer you a position or training after that, then leave. If they're gonna train you, that means you're hired and you should get paid for it. And at that same place, one day, my arm, my shoulder, this whole area hurt so bad that I could barely scan. I was holding the probe. I mean, I'm gonna show my thumb right here. That's not really manicured or anything, but I was holding the probe like, let me hold my phone. Like this, like barely holding the probe so I could scan. The doctor gave me prescription drug killers. No. The doctor gave me prescription painkillers so I could continue working because he needed me. I couldn't take off early to seek medical attention, and I couldn't take time off to heal, which is really the only cure. I left work one day to do physical therapy, and the person was like, oh, you need to rest your shoulders. Try not to work so hard. I'm like, yeah, right. Tell that to my boss. I didn't have health insurance, no paid time off, no sick leave. That was my reality, and that could be your reality. So you gotta be careful where you choose to work when you have no experience. So not only that, working with doctors as a newly graduated sonographer is emotionally jarring. At least for me. As a brand new, fresh sonographer, I didn't know shit. I learned at the job. The doctors couldn't stand me. If you can't scan, you ain't shit. That's how I felt. Some doctors were okay with me, some doctors weren't. The sonographers were great. And I'm talking about my first job, not the second job. The first job was in a hospital in the Bronx. The sonographers that were there were great to me, and as far as I know, they did not talk crap behind my back. They were very lovely. But some of the doctors I could just feel hatred. Well, maybe not hatred, but just like their dislike. Although that shouldn't really make any sense, because a way that someone scan or can't scan or whatever is not a reflection of their personality or just how they are as a person. But with them, it's all one and the same. If you can't scan, or if you're new, or if you have trouble, or if you're slow, then you're not really worth anything to them. And the patients. You already know, based on some of my videos that I've made, that the patients could be worse. A lot of the patients are great, don't get me wrong. I don't hate what I do, I like what I do, and part of the reason why I do like what I do is because of the patients. Some of them are great, but some of them, especially where I used to work, so entitled, so snobby, so entitled. Did I say that already? I don't know. Some were high strung, some worry too much, and I'm just talking about in general right now. Some are way too excited and all they do is talk, and they want you to talk, and I'm like, just shut the up. If I'm not happy enough, if I didn't smile, or if I didn't smile enough, if I didn't talk, if I didn't talk enough, if I say hi a certain way, if I didn't give them a photo, if I didn't give them the results, forget it. They flip their or they flip their to the doctor, who then tells your boss or whoever is in charge, and then it goes back to you, and then you get in trouble. In the past, I would get in trouble for making smart comments. Like, for instance, in my second job, the one that I was overworked, I was scanning a patient. She was with her husband and her daughter. I don't know if there was someone else. And that job, side note, kids were allowed in the room. Like little baby kids, like crying their poor little heads off, distracting you while you're trying to work. They're yelling, you're scanning, and the patient is like, I know you're used to it, but at the time I didn't have kids, and even now I wouldn't be okay with it, but like, come on. I shouldn't have to endure your child screaming, and I'm not a babysitter. Your little kids should not be touching things, and I shouldn't be the one telling them to stop. Anyway, that's just a little rant about that other place. Where was I? Yes, okay, so I was scanning this patient, and I was getting the heart rate, and the daughter asked, what is that moving? And I said, what did I say? I gotta think about that. I said something to the effect of, well, the only thing that beats in the body is the heart. You know, so it's the heart. But the way that I said it was off-putting, which I understand. But back then, and even now, but I have to like stop myself. People just rub you the wrong way, or not that she rubbed me the wrong way, she didn't. I was just being a bitch. Now, I'm going to admit to that, and I'm gonna own it. I was a bitch. Sometimes I was a bitch without meaning to, and sometimes I was a bitch on purpose. I don't make smart ass comments anymore. We live and we learn. I was and still am in a very perilous situation where everything I say or don't say, do or don't do, where I look, yes, where I look, how my face is, my facial expression is judged. If I smile or don't smile, how I address a patient, my tone, everything is being judged. If I examine the baby's heart for too long, they think something's wrong. And like I said before, if I don't give them a picture or if I don't give them results, they might think there's something wrong or they get upset. Regardless, you're walking on eggshells sometimes. It's not easy being a sonographer. Oh, and one time, a little story time, just like the one that I just gave you, I was doing an NT scan. Now, you guys should already know, if you've been following me, if you watch these sonography videos, NT is nucleotranslucency. That's when we measure the back of the neck. We do that for Down syndrome, etc., etc., etc. That's done around 10 to 13 weeks, whatever. I did it. I printed the pictures. Where I work, we print the pictures and we show them to the attending doctor of the day to show them the pictures because they have to approve them, right? Okay, so I printed the pictures and I told the patient and her partner, okay, I'm just going to have the doctor approve these measurements. So I left. When I came back, I don't remember what the patient said, but she was like, oh, he over here, her partner, got her all worried about something that you said. And I said, well, what is it that you're concerned about? And the partner, I say partner because that was like her boyfriend, now her husband, now her fiance, don't even know if they were really together, but it doesn't matter. He says, oh, well, get this.
I've been to 3 of these already, And no one has ever said that a photo or measurements or whatever needed to be approved by the doctor. So I was just worried that there was something wrong.
First of all, they were like 20 years old, so they don't know anything to begin with. And three ultrasounds when she was like maybe 8-10 weeks, and this is the first time that the baby is like 11-12 weeks when we're doing an actual test. This is a brand new type of ultrasound for them, and you're telling me that there's something wrong.
Boy, if you don't get your ass out.
I've been doing this for almost 7 years, and I've done all sorts of ultrasound exams. So I did the calculation back then. I don't remember the number that I came up with, but roughly I've done 13,000 exams. I think 13,000. I'm gonna do the math, and I am going to insert the number here somewhere. But compare 13,000 to 3. And you're gonna tell me, oh, I think there's something wrong because you needed those measurements to be approved. You don't know, okay? You don't know how things work, all right? You don't know the behind the scenes. You don't know what we're doing. So just shut the Sorry about that. I just had to rant. This happened weeks and weeks ago, and I almost did a video on just that one topic. But I thought, let me just insert it now since we're kind of talking about the topic. But anyway, I just told them, listen, a lot is going to happen that you're not going to understand. That doesn't mean that there's something wrong. So just relax, enjoy the pregnancy, and don't worry about anything until someone tells you that there's something wrong.